So welcome to today's coaching clinic, and we're exploring, should I stay or should I go thinking? So if you get those thoughts regularly where you're just on a pendulum about what you should do next, where you should be next, who you should be with, any of that kind of should I, shouldn't I thinking, you're going to really have a lot of support today, because it's a common way that Bob the drunk guy in our head keeps us in a spinning loop. So on today's coaching clinic, I want to help you get out of that loop as best you can. And I want to start with a settling down meditation. So wherever you've come from right now, just be present, just switch everything off, come into this moment. Let's relax, let's see something fresh, and we'll start with just a little guided meditation. So close your eyes and join me. Just feet on the floor, firmly planted, roots coming down from the feet, down into the ground, right down to the underground, and wrap those roots around that rock at the bottom of the earth. See golden light coming from the rock, up through the roots, through the feet, through the legs, up into the torso. Let that golden light continue all the way up. And out through the arms and the hands and the fingertips. You're completely surrounded in this gorgeous golden light, this healing balm, here for you now, ready to take care of you. Use your breath now to the count of 4 to slow everything down. In through the nose, 2, 3, 4. Out through the nose or the mouth, 2, 3, 4. In through the nose, 2, 3, 4. Out through the nose or the mouth, 2, 3, 4. Slowing everything down. I just want you now to imagine in front of you a gorgeous golden path, and you're going to just walk along that path, letting yourself walk gently along the path, moving your body, moving yourself along the path. This is the path of light. So as we do this guided visualization, just imagine for yourself this path of light guiding you. And it's never ending. This path of light continues. And as you go along this path of light, you're faced with directions to go in. If there's something you're spinning on, notice what it's like to take one direction, one decision about that situation. And then notice what it's like to take the other. Just feel in your body right now. Which one feels right? We often know by how relaxed we feel about something, but not always. And don't worry if there's still no direction for you. All you're doing here is connecting to the feeling of the right path, not the decision on what to do, but the feeling of the right path for you. Just get a sense of how that feels. And now just gently move away from the path back onto the one of golden light. And come back, walking back down it with a fresh understanding of what it feels like to, in your body, in your whole being, what it feels like to be faced with decisions and choosing the path of least resistance, the one that feels the most natural. And come back down the path. And back into your body, into this moment. Feeling those roots going down through the ground into the underground and right down to a rock at the bottom of the earth, and wrap those roots around that rock. Using your breath again to the count of 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. And out, 2, 3, 4. Golden light surrounding you. Just set your intention now that on this clinic, for the clarity you're looking for, in the right time, space, sequence. And bring yourself back to the room, opening your eyes. Letting yourself be here now. So today is about really knowing whether it's a stay or a go situation. And we all can get into those scenarios where it looks to us like we don't know. It looks to us like there's something more important or more urgent, more like there's more weight on it. Okay, know what you should do. Innocently, you can have a gun to your head and not realize it. You can have a piece in your mind that you're spinning on over and over and over again, and you just don't realize that that's what's going on. When it comes to should you stay or should you go, often there's another path that isn't necessarily about the options you can see. The options you can see are sometimes what your small mind has decided is available for you. Option A or option B. What comes from divine mind is often the third option, the option you hadn't considered, the option that doesn't look clear right now, given the noise you're living in. So you can have a lot of thinking about, should I stay, should I go, should I do this, should I do that? And ultimately, there's no juice there. There's just recycled habitual thoughts or story to keep you out of the present moment. And, one of the common things people come to talk to me about is, their career or their business direction. Should I do this or should I do that? Should I leave the job? Should I start my own? I want to start my own. I don't know if I should leave. I've got this idea for a service. I wonder, should I do that? Should I? There's a lot of toing and froing, which is very innocent. But you want to begin to recognize that level of questioning isn't coming from a trustworthy place. It's coming from a mind that is trying to keep you safe and get you an answer immediately, straight away, as quickly as possible. Because if it doesn't, there's a lot hanging on that. Here's the thing, there's not a lot hanging on it. Rarely are we in life and death decisions, rarely. But when we put a gun to our head or we feel there's a gun to our head from external sources, which is made up anyway, but when we feel that, we begin to create a sense of urgency around our decisions. Those decisions are the ones that you want to just settle down on before deciding. Remember, often the way that Bob is acting up in your head is to get you swinging on a pendulum between choices. Get in the habit of waiting on wisdom. Get in the habit of sitting with the feeling of what feels right. And it's helpful to know your indicators for when you're wound up. Indicators such as starting to argue with people, finding people irritating, feeling low self-worth, indicators such as tension, stress, and upset, indicators such as withdrawal and not wanting to be in life. Know your indicators for being in a low mood, because when you're trying to make life choices from a low mood, a low state of mind, you're not seeing right. You see much more clearly up the elevator of consciousness when the state of mind changes and moves, and you're back in a feeling of well-being, you're back in a feeling of easiness, you're back in a feeling of grace. That's when you have access to greater clarity on your situation. That's when you just know, oh, this is what I'll do. Any questions at this point? I don't want to just be talking at you. Let me make this real and helpful. Any questions or comments at this point? Especially around the should I stay, should I go? Where are you swinging on that? Should I do this? Should I do that? There are a lot of possibilities for you to really begin to know the difference between divine mind and wisdom. Oh, wait, I see some question in the chat box. You are my divine guide, Grace. No, you are your divine guide, not me. Your guidance is within you. Your guidance is there, Pamela.
Okay, I hear you loud and clear. This was great.
Good stuff. You're all your guides. Marie-Pierre, what if you're always feeling stuck in a low mood? Okay. First of all, you're not always stuck in a low mood, because thought is transient. Thought will come and go. Moods will go up and down, like the elevator in the Empire State Building. So there's no such thing as always feeling stuck and in a low mood. You want to just catch that. When you're in a low mood, it really does look like, oh my God, this isn't temporary. I'm always here and this is going to last forever. But just as your heart rate isn't always at the same level, sometimes it's faster and sometimes it's slower, neither is your low mood. And your feeling stuckness is often symptomatic of being in a low mood. Our thinking drops and we feel it. Some people feel it in the form of stuckness. The stuckness is letting you know, I've dropped. It's not telling you anything about your future. Some people feel a low mood and they get a feeling of tension or irritability. The tension and irritability is letting you know you've dropped. It is not informing you that everyone around you really is a bitch and a bastard. Thank you, Mary Perry. You're saying again, I mean, I don't feel the drive for consistency and taking actions long enough to have results. Good, you're not supposed to. Otherwise, you would be a robot, not a human. Let me share a little bit about this thing about consistency. And thanks for bringing it up, sweetheart. Results don't come from consistency. Results come from you being in alignment with what you're offering. Not from how long you offer it for and how regularly you get it out there and how much how much effort you put in on a daily basis. Results are coming from you following divine mind's guidance. And you don't need to motivate or stay consistent when it comes to that. It's fresh and in the moment, and you find yourself acting on it until you're not. But this idea that consistency is the key to the results you're searching for, well, if that was true, then every single person that's stuck to the same diet forever would all be the same weight. But they're not, right? People could stick to the same diet consistently for the same amount of time, eat exactly the same thing, but their weights will differ. Consistency is not the king. Okay? The king is being in alignment with what you're offering. And you know you're in alignment with what you're offering by the feeling of natural enthusiasm, natural moving forward, natural arising of energy and vitality. Some people think alignment means everything's in flow and they don't have to lift a finger. Well, not really. Alignment means that you're taking action without needing external motivation. It's coming through you. Life's living you. Divine mind is moving you. There's a natural enthusiasm. Is that helpful, Marie-Pierre? Just give me a little more feedback from what you're hearing and what comes up. I see you saying you're losing patience with yourself. Yeah, tension, irritability, and losing patience with self and others is just a really good indicator we've dropped. There's nothing wrong with dropping. You need to have compassion when you drop. Even if other people don't have compassion with you when you drop. The feelings allow us to just get a flavor of where we are on the elevator of consciousness. And further up the elevator, we do better. And further down the elevator, we do worse. And further down the elevator, it's really hard to make decisions. Further down the elevator is where we get all of this, should I, shouldn't I, will I, won't I, what should I do, what should I not do? There's nothing wrong with being down there. But you want to just begin to get suspicious of your thinking when you're swinging between two options. You want to get suspicious of your thinking when it looks to you like you need to make a decision right now. You want to get suspicious of your thinking when you assume that the only answer is what you can see in front of you. There's always a third option, and the third option comes from divine mind. Usually. Third option is fresh and new. Third option is a wonderful possibility that you hadn't considered. like in my world, when Francesca was alive in the early stages of our relationship, I would get into so much thinking about, is this the man for me? Are we supposed to be together? And that would interrupt my connection with him naturally, because I had a habit of suspicion at my decisions. I had a habit of questioning my choices. So I would be in a lot of pendulum about, should I stay? Should I go? Shouldn't I? It's so noisy in there that the only option I could see was to leave the relationship. And I would leave the relationship, maybe just for a few days, sometimes just for a few hours, but I would leave because that looked like the only option to me. I didn't know other options were available, such as, hey, Grace, your Bob's in the house right now, go settle down before you decide anything about your relationship. I didn't know that Bob was in the house. So, of course, the option that looked like my option was, let's leave. Then, luckily, I got wiser. And as I got wiser, my relationship got better. It stopped looking to me like my options around my relationship were to stay or to go. I stopped putting a gun to my head about needing to feel better right now, so I better just leave the relationship. It started to look insane to me that my only options were to stay in the relationship in a bad feeling, or to leave the relationship and maybe get a nice feeling but not have the love of my life anymore. It started looking insane. Get suspicious of the options that you are presenting yourself with, especially if you know you're in a low mood. It came to me very clearly in a quiet state. Is this the man? Is this the man you're going to leave? You're going to leave today? No. Okay, let's keep going. That was an option I hadn't even considered, that I could ask myself, am I going to leave today? And if the answer was no, then I could just get on with my day and enjoy my relationship. I didn't know that option was on the table, but how much wiser that option was. Let's see how we feel today, versus scaring the life out of myself and then running out the door thinking that was the answer. It's so innocent. But when we're swinging on decisions, we're swinging. That's what we want to notice, not the decision stuff. We want to notice we're swinging. If we're swinging on decisions, we're swinging on thought. Any swinging on thought isn't clarity, it's just turbulence. Wait for the swing to settle down. Please write in what you're hearing in that, if there's a question around that, if there's something you want to know around that, if there's an aha. Lynn has just written in, I find when I become aware of my own worth, it takes me out of that dropping feeling you speak of. Makes me feel like myself again when I focus on that instead of being consumed in a low mood. Beautiful. Yeah. And even that, Lynn, becoming aware of your own worth. That's divine mind clarifying for you. That's divine mind in operation with you. That's divine mind reminding you, reminding. Funny how the word mind is in there. Reminding you of what you're made of. One of my mentors used to say, you're made of God stuff. And I thought that was beautiful. When you know you're made of God stuff, you rather than Bob stuff, right? God stuff is much better to be made of than Bob stuff. Then you can ride the moods knowing that it's not the time to make big choices. It's not the time to listen more deeply. Soon enough, it'll move on. Who else? Who else has a question or a comment? Remember, your questions and your comments and your insights help everybody. So don't be shy. Anybody got a yeah, but this is how it looks to me. This is the exception, Grace. There's a lot riding on a particular decision for me, you know. Anybody got any of that going on? Oh, we just had someone else join. People are coming in late today. That's okay. Remember, there's recordings for these clinics over on the YouTube channel, Graceful Coaching. So the feeling is informing us. Of course, Marie-Pierre, there's no limit to the questions. The feeling is informing us every time as to where we are on the Richter scale of thought. And as humans, we forget that. What's your other question, Marie-Pierre?
Hello, Grace. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
First, thank you. Thanks a lot for your guidance. And my question is, the thing is, how do you, I think like overall, I feel like I have the feeling that I'm not living the life that I should live.
Mm-hmm.
And that I've made a lot of wrong choices. And so there's a difficulty to trust myself again to make the right choices. So that's why making decisions become difficult, because I feel like I've not done that great until now. So how do you overcome the feeling of I'm not living the life that I should live, or I'm not living the life that, like, it's not just one choice. I feel like it's everything that I have to change. Is kind of weird, but it's like everything doesn't work. I don't know if I make sense.
Do you feel like that when you're not in a low mood? Do you have that thinking that everything doesn't work and I'm not living the life I should when you're not in a low mood?
At this stage of my life, this is how I feel most of the time.
Okay. You don't have to give it all to us, Marie-Pierre, but if you were living the life that you think you should be living, what would it look like? What would be different?
I would live in another country, and I would be more successful. I mean, successful in terms of doing something I love and making money doing something I love.
What would all those things give you?
Knowing that I live my life, like I live life to the full, like I feel like I'm missing a lot of things.
So knowing what you know now about how the mind works, let me just ask you this question. Can you see that you're looking for a feeling of living life to the full? And you pin that on a different country and a successful business.
Yes.
And can you see that? I would get suspicious of that. Because there are millions of people in the world who are living life to the full, who haven't had to change countries and don't have successful businesses. Maybe they're doing something else they like, or maybe they're not. But they have the capacity to be present to where they are and fall into a feeling of fullness. You have an innocent habit of judgment on yourself and your circumstances. That's the Bob stuff, not the God stuff for you. An innocent habit of judging where you are so far. It's not to say wisdom wouldn't move you to another country. Sounds like it already did. But you don't want to have to keep moving all around different locations only to find that you still get low moods and you still feel like you're not living life to the full and you still haven't got a successful business. You want to find your fullness where you are. The gun to your head about I can't trust myself because look so far, look at the mistakes I've made. All judgment. You have no idea. You are being lived. You're really not the one deciding all the time. You are being lived and you're judging how that's expressing in the world. Oh my God, how innocently we all do that. And if we go and compare ourselves to how God is living somebody else, we get in trouble. If we then have a rule book, well, this is what living to the full would look like. If I was really living my life, it would look like this. That is so innocent, but it's not true. It's a habit of thinking that keeps you out of the very moment and environment and career that you are in. It keeps you out of it. Out of the enjoyment, out of the fullness, out of whatever. It thinks it's keeping you safe. It's not. It thinks if you, if you have all this thinking, then you'll make a change. Then you really will move countries. Then you really will have a successful business. No. The move and the success may or may not give you a feeling of fullness. That will go up and down based on the mood you're in. But the success and the move doesn't come from thinking about it more. It comes from life living you and moving you in a new direction. And I get the sense that it's been doing that for you for a little while. It just might not look like the picture or the rule book that you've decided equals living life to the full. Tell me what you're hearing in this, Marie-Pierre. And tell me if that's all no.
It resonates a lot. I think I will have to re-listen again to what you said.
Okay.
But it's too like the habitual thinking of judging myself and the circumstances, and it's never enough and it's never good enough. And constantly moving countries and yes, it resonates.
Re-listen, there was quite a bit there, but more so than re-listening, just notice the feeling that you're dropping into. When we're in a low mood, we don't always see clearly. We don't always hear clearly. That's okay, Lynn. We just drop. And when we drop, our world looks like a mess. And it seems like a good idea to us to make up in our mind what would make us happy, what would living life to the full be. And then we pin that on external circumstances. And the problem with pinning it on external circumstances is a bit like the problem with consistency. The external circumstances are always subject to change. They'll go up and down and all around. So you want to see how Bob keeps all of us out of the present moment and in the pendulum. Not just in the pendulum, but in the pressure cooker with a gun to our head. Judging where we are, judging how we are, judging who we are. There's no juice there. Listening to that is optional. If you all just get that today, listening to that noise is optional. There are some levels of thought that enter my mind where I just shut the door. I don't give it enough leeway because I know it's not helpful. And if I go there, I'm just going to go down the rabbit hole. So there's a conscious knowing, don't go there. Like I used to have thinking about, well, could I have saved Francesco's life? So I would get into lots and lots of thinking about what I had done wrong as a girlfriend and why hadn't I taken more care and why hadn't I? And the feeling in me would drop and drop and drop, and I'd be in floods of grief and guilt. And then at some point, I remembered that I can choose to shut the door on that, to not bring that thinking in for tea with me, to notice it's there, but not get into it deeper. There was a bit of a conscious choice there because I just didn't want to keep feeling bad anymore. I could see this thinking isn't helpful. It's not changing the situation. It's flavored with Bob, and it's optional if I invite it in for tea. we all have flavors of thought that we don't realize are pulling our mood down. And we're innocently wanting to look at it more deeply. What else?
Thanks a lot, Grace. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Always powerful questions, Marie-Pierre. Thank you. Annette writes in, love the reminder. Is it God stuff or Bob stuff? Yeah. I think I'll have to make a mantra with that. I'm on a bus, so impractical to comment live. No problem, Annette. Oh, Lillian, are you hearing anything today that you want to comment on or have a question about? I know the last time you were on, we had a very, it felt to me like you saw something fresh.
No, I just come on, so I've just been listening to your conversation with Marie. But no, it's good to have the reminders, isn't it? Recognizing, and I liked what you said, we have the option to invite Bob to lunch or not, which could be another mantra as well.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, honey. Thank you. So to more or less be finishing with, it's just to say that should I stay? Should I go? Should I launch this? Should I launch that? Should I invest over here, invest over there? Should I? All of those options that you swing on are usually coming from a very busy mind. And they're usually options that your little mind, not divine mind, has made up for you. Remember, there's always a third option. Remember, there's always an option that divine mind has that you haven't seen. Like when Francesco died, it was a no-brainer to me that I would go and live with his parents for a while because I wasn't going to stay in the house that he died in. It didn't look like an option to me that I would return to Ostuni. And my mind started swinging on where will I go? Where should I be? Where will I go? But I caught it. I realized, oh, here we go again. We're back in the Bob stuff of you trying to decide between options on where to go. As it happened, an option I didn't even know was an option. A friend of mine called me up and said, Grace, I'm going on holidays for a few weeks. Here's the key to my house. Come and stay here. And I returned to the town that we lived in, Ostuni. And whilst I was here getting a feel for living here without Francesco, seeing how that was, reconnecting with people, making new friends, another friend said, Grace, there's a house, there's an apartment opposite me available for rent. Would you like me to speak to the owner for you? And lo and behold, the option that Divine Mind had for me wasn't an option I could see initially. Moving back to Ostuni, first staying in a friend's house, and then ending up getting an apartment in the center of town, whereas we had always lived on the outskirts. Life gave me the keys. Often, we don't need to decide, especially not between two narrow options, especially when nothing feels right. Often, we want to wait on wisdom to guide, or we want to wait on life to invite us, to give us the keys, to invite us to where we're going to be. I hope that's been helpful today. I hope that I know that you'll find your way. I know that Divine Mind is working through all of you, and the clarity you're looking for, remember, is only one thought away. It's not 10 years in therapy and 600 books and 50 more courses away. It's one thought away. If you would like my help with that, get in touch, gracefulcoaching@gmail.com. Remember, there's a current 50% discount on one-to-one retreats. If you want to come to Italy, if you want to get your clarity in Italy with me, if you want to get an insider's experience of this gorgeous land that has just the potential to nourish you and elevate you, you can do that with me at the moment. There's that discount until June 21st, and you can book your retreat now and use it within 12 months, excluding July and August. If travel isn't an option for you, but you really still want to deepen your understanding of everything I share here and see it more regularly and more clearly in your life, having the clarity on your business direction, getting out of limbo, knowing the difference between when wisdom is talking versus Bob in your head. If you want help with that, maybe you're going through a heartbreak, maybe you're going through a loss, maybe you're just in that path of, something's got to change and you're done putting your life on hold. Online coaching is an option too. I've got different options around that, a monthly call, a program, a set of calls. Get in touch, gracefulcoaching@gmail.com, or private message me on Facebook. Lots of love, everybody. I hope this has been helpful. I'll see you next week. Bye.